Now we go over to Anfield with Liverpool-Porto. James, VAR seems to be the word on everyone's lips, and it's another contentious decision that's happened at Anfield this evening.
Yeah, it was Roberto Firmino with the second goal. Liverpool currently 2-0 up. He was played in by Mohamed Salah, he seemed to be parallel with. There was a lot of shouts for an offside decision to be made. It went to VAR, and it seems what had happened was that Mo Salah was actually behind Roberto Firmino. However, the ball was in front of him, meaning that it was a very, very close decision, possibly as close as you can get to being offside without actually being offside. We've just gone in at half-time. It's still 2-0. A very exciting game on Merseyside.
Liverpool have never lost a game against Porto in the European competition. Can you see that changing? Maybe a second-half comeback from the away side?
You would need something miraculous to happen from the Portuguese side. Liverpool, despite only being 2-0 up, could easily have been 3 or 4-0 up. They've looked confident, they've looked assured, they've looked like the team that we saw before Christmas, really. So it would need a huge turnaround in the second half from Porto.
So again, we'll take it back to the sofa with Liverpool. James, how Porto been? You know, they've come into the game, they've come in huge underdogs. They are 2-0. Obviously, they have had that VAR controversy. Sorry, easy for me to say. Have you been impressed with them at all? Have they not really shown how they've got to this quarter-final of the competition?
I think they came into the game with a game plan, and that was to sit back, defend, and take the game back to Portugal. I think that Porto are certainly much better at home than they are on the road, and that plan will have gone out of the window with the first goal coming on the 5th minute from Naby Keita. It took a huge deflection off Oliver Torres. It was certainly lucky for Liverpool, but it will have thrown Porto completely out of kilter, and it seems that their game plan has just gone out of the window entirely. They're looking sloppy at the back, they're looking messy, and unless Sergio Conceição gets them into the changing room, says something to them and makes a change, we could be looking at a massacre here.
They might have to get past Liverpool, who are absolutely flying today against Porto. It's 2-0 at Anfield. James, do you think we're talking about Manchester City doing the quadruple, but have Liverpool got something to say in both the Premier League and the Champions League in terms of, well, are they City's real main competitors?
I think in the Premier League, you can't look beyond Liverpool. I think they're the only team that have really any chance of catching them at this point. In the Champions League, they've started to show tonight that they're not a team to be messed with. Porto came with a game plan. Liverpool said, we don't care what your game plan is, we'll play our way. And they managed to get 2-0 up at half-time. The teams are back out now, ready to go. And I would expect to see more of the same from Liverpool. I think it's really on Porto now to take the initiative and change, because if it goes the same way it did in the first half, then Liverpool will be making a huge statement for themselves. Yeah, it's a chip ball over the top. Oh no, it's offside. Sadio Mane found himself one-on-one. A beautiful volley on his left foot, past Iker Casillas, but the assistant's flag was up. I'm just getting a replay of it now. Oh, that will be a very contentious decision. It seems that one of the two Porto centre-backs, it looks to be Felipe, was actually in line with Mane, so that will be a huge decision. I'll see if it goes to VAR, but right now it's been given offside.
That seems like it's the word on everyone's lips tonight, VAR. Just a point on VAR, obviously it's massive. For you, is it going to be a good introduction, a useful introduction into the game?
I think that if it means that more decisions are made correctly, then you can't really argue with it. There's a huge argument against the time it takes away from the game, but year on year, those delays are getting smaller and smaller, and hopefully eventually it will just become part of the game that we accept it. I've been a huge fan of it. It's made all the correct decisions tonight, certainly in this Liverpool game, so I can't really complain how it's being implemented tonight.
We'll go back over to James now on the sofa, and I think there's been a bit of a chance at Anfield since we last came to you.
Yeah, Liverpool once again looking on top. It was a beautiful counter from a Porto corner. Mane was played through by Trent Alexander-Arnold, but he got the ball caught under his feet, and Danilo managed to get back and put a block in, and it was quite easily picked up by Iker Casillas. Porto now on the attack, throwing on this near side, but there's not really been much from either side really, apart from that one counter attack.
2-0 is a very good scoreline for Liverpool, but there's always that danger, isn't there, of Porto nicking one, and 2-0 is a big difference between that result and a 2-1 with Porto having an away goal to take back to Portugal with them.
Yeah, absolutely, especially when you consider that Porto's form at home has been much improved compared to their form away from home. I think if they can sneak an away goal here, Porto will probably go home quite happy with that result. They've seemed a lot more stable at the back than they did in the first half. They're covering themselves quite well when they're getting hit on the counter-attack, which we all know Liverpool do very, very well. It's just a matter of wait and seeing now if Porto can sneak a goal on the counter-attack and take that back over to Portugal.
Dangerous underdogs, aren't they? They seem like they could have done what they did in 2004 under Jose Mourinho, so who says they can't do it again?
Absolutely.
Okay, James, we've not been over to you for a while at Anfield. What's happening there?
Yeah, do you want to take my comments from 10 minutes ago and just play them again? I'm starting to feel like a broken record. Liverpool clearly on top, dominating, but they just haven't got that final touch. They just can't get the shot right. There was a corner a couple of minutes ago. It fell to Salah on the edge of the box, and he just completely mishit the volley, and it went wide. And it's just the same story over and over again. They're looking so in charge. Salah now dribbling around players with ease in the box, but his shot getting blocked away by his own captain, Jordan Henderson. It's not really been the exciting game that it was in the first 45 minutes, that's for sure.
Oh, last season, Liverpool did play Porto again, and they beat them 5-0. Is that finishing touch deserting them? Well, it was so clinical last season against them. Is that something they've lost?
Yeah, I think that's certainly something that you could say. I think both of their goals in this game, a deflection from Naby Keita and an easy tap in from a pass across the goal for Roberto Firmino, haven't really been the sort of counter-attack and fluid, really impressive Liverpool that we've seen for the last couple of months. So it is that final touch that's let Liverpool down, really.
We'll go back to Anfield. James, I saw you shaking your head there. Is it just that similar case of they just can't find that cutting edge in the final third?
Yeah, they had a fantastic chance to counter there from another Porto corner. That seems to be where Liverpool have been most dangerous tonight. But once again, Salah just losing the ball underneath his feet, getting tripped over the ball. He's easily tackled and Porto clear quite easily. Again, Anfield right now they're just checking for a penalty on VAR. Could be a handball from Dejan Lovren. Looking at it from here, it does look slightly suspicious, but it hasn't been given, so no penalty.
You spoke about Mo Salah just there. What's gone wrong with him this season? Do you think? He's not been at his clinical best.
Yeah, I think it's something we've seen in football time and time again. Is that you go 3 or 4 games without scoring, especially when you're a player who is so used to scoring as Salah's been since he moved to Anfield. And it starts to weigh heavy on your shoulders. The fans are expecting you to provide the goals, and you're just not. And it seemed that it was over against Southampton last time out. We thought that maybe he'd hit his stride now and at this crucial part of the season, but tonight he's just not looked on form again.
Back over to you now, James. Just a point about Porto. Porto striker Moussa Marega, he's one of the Champions League top scorers this season. I think it's only Messi and Robert Lewandowski who've got more goals than him this season. Has he looked a threat for the away side?
He has when he's been given the service, but unfortunately he just hasn't been given that service in the same way he was for the previous round against Roma. An interesting stat, he still can become only the 4th player in Champions League history to score in 7 successive Champions League matches. The only others, plenty of recognisable names, Edinson Cavani, Ruud van Nistelrooy, and of course, Cristiano Ronaldo. But right now, the way that the service is being played to him, he won't be getting on that list.
So I'll ask you the same question. Is there a chance of another goal at Anfield, or is it still the same story that we've been experiencing for the last 20 minutes?
Well, I think much like the Tottenham game, Liverpool look to be going for this. We all know about Divock Origi and how impressive he's been from the bench this season. He has just been brought on to replace Sadio Mane, who seemed to be a bit slower than he was at the start of the game. It seems that tiring a bit. Obviously, the way that Liverpool play is very stressful on the legs of on players. But Divock Origi there just brought down near the edge of the box. He's bringing on that explosive pace that we like to see from Liverpool, and I think if there's a person who's going to score for them tonight, it might be that Belgian.
James, has there been any chances at Anfield at Liverpool versus Porto?
Yeah, well, we spoke before about how important Moussa Marega was to this Porto side, and he may have just thrown away Porto's best chance of the evening. He was through one-on-one, a fantastic through ball. I think it was from Danilo. He had Otavio alongside him. He could have slid the ball across to him, decided to take it on his own, and he spied it high and wide above the goal. And it seems that Marega will be holding his head in his hands tonight, because that was probably their best chance they've had all game.
So, James, we'll throw it back to you with Anfield.
Yeah, I think Marega made completely the opposite decision just 20 seconds after you moved away from me, and it didn't work this time. This time he finds himself one-on-one. Instead of shooting, he plays it across the goal, but there's no Porto players waiting to tap it in. Once again, complete wrong decision-making. Porto have got a corner now, but Marega it seems he's lost his head after that miss.
And James, we'll go over to you at Anfield.
Yeah, there's been two contentious decisions in the last couple of minutes. First of all, it seemed like Trent Alexander-Arnold had fouled Marega in the box, and it was sent to VAR for penalty. Nothing doing. It did look quite weak to me. It seemed that it was just a bit 50-50. But then on the counter-attack, Mo Salah stretched for the ball, and it seemed to take out the ankle of Danilo. There was questions of whether that could be a red card, almost certainly a yellow card, but the referee says nothing doing and doesn't go into his pocket.
We'll go over to the sofa again, James. Saw you frowning a little bit over there. Anything happened at Anfield?
Yeah, Porto seem to be really going at them now. They clearly sense that they're going to need this away goal if they want to try and get a result out of the second leg. Liverpool seem to be sitting a bit deeper now. They seem to be happy with taking the 2-0, hopefully hitting them on the counter. But right now, it seems that 2-0 is going to be an inevitable result.
So, James, we'll just nip back to you. So, Moussa Marega, we were speaking about him before. You know, he's had a fantastic Champions League campaign so far. Has that miss completely, knocked him off his feet? Is he?
Yeah, he seemed invisible since that miss. We've had no chances from him. He's not really looked to be in a position to try and score. Their main attacking threat at the minute is Yassine Brahimi, who came on from the bench about half an hour ago and hadn't really done anything up until about 10 minutes ago, but has really sort of kicked on since Marega's huge miss, and is now probably their biggest attacking threat.
And over to you, James, at Anfield. Liverpool cruising, it seems.
Yeah, it does seem that way. Divock Origi just once again using that explosive pace that we spoke about before, getting past the right back. I think that was Felipe, actually, the centre-back that he went past before swinging a cross in. But again, it was the last touch that let them down. The cross was too high. It was above Mohamed Salah, and it rolls out harmlessly for a throw-in. Not much happening here, Andy.
But it only takes a second to score a goal, so could Portsmouth, you think, maybe counter it? I know they've got a lot of pace in their team.
They'd have a hard job considering it's Porto. But yeah, Porto can absolutely hit them on the counter here. They've looked dangerous, especially in the last 15 minutes. They've not only been throwing the kitchen sink, they've been throwing the bathroom sink and the bathtub at them. They've really gone for it in the last 15 minutes. And like you said, one moment and this game completely turns on its head.
And the full-time whistle has gone at Anfield. James, what you can say?
Yeah, all I can say is that I wish you'd been here to see the first half, because it was certainly much more exciting than the second half. It's finished 2-0 as we expected it to. Porto had a couple of chances at the end, throwing men forward, but really it looked pretty safe from about the 60th minute that Liverpool would be walking away comfortably. and they'll be happy with that. They've not conceded an away goal, which Porto will be very upset with, having to go back to their home ground without that advantage. The Porto fans cheering on their team who are stood in front of them, applauding them, but you can't imagine they're going to be happy with that performance.
Fantastic win for Liverpool, 2-0. Very comfortable, but obviously going to Porto, it's going to be a tough task there.
Yeah, I think they certainly could have done with getting a couple of more goals in this game. Porto much better at home than they are away, and we'll be hoping that despite not scoring tonight, keeping Liverpool to 2 goals will give them a massive advantage in the second leg.